Right, so Amazon FBA is one of the best ways to make money in e-commerce and an amazing way to get your start in business. But too many new sellers are getting sucked into tips shelled out by gurus on this very platform for finding winning products to sell on Amazon. And most of it is just absolute bollocks. The problem is, a lot of the recommendations that you hear, they kind of make sense on the surface and they sound great as a soundbite, so they're memorable. Winning products, low reviews, high demand. Tom's the most handsome guy in Honest FBA. All great sounding, but perhaps not true. Except the last one. See, the problem is, when you actually put these recommendations into practice, they completely fall apart. So in this video, I'm going to expose the 5 biggest mistakes I see new Amazon sellers making all the time. And I'll show you what you can do instead, so that you can build a legitimate, sustainable business that you can live comfortably off or potentially go on to sell in future. And at the end of the video, I'm going to let you in on another secret that most new sellers never even think about. You might call this mistake number 6, but I just call it one of the most overlooked opportunities on Amazon. So stay tuned for that. But first things first, it's going to get juicy. So a few years ago, a guy called Doug Evans had an idea, a juice maker that can squeeze fresh fruit and vegetables into delicious, healthy juices. What's not to love, right? The problem was that Doug's dream product, called Juicero, cost a cool $700 to buy, and it only worked with the company's pre-chopped fruit and veg packs, which was then verified by a built-in Wi-Fi connection. You couldn't even use your own fresh fruit and veg from the store, and you couldn't use it if your internet went down. In short, it was a stupid idea, but somehow Silicon Valley didn't think so, and Juicero took $120 million in venture capital investment, and they promptly turned that $120 million into $0 of Wi-Fi enabled garbage. Now, most sellers don't start out with $120 million to throw at stupid ideas, but a lot of sellers do start with ideas that are built on passion rather than market demand. And that's just a big mistake that a lot of new sellers make, getting emotionally attached to a product idea. And this mistake, it can appear in a few different ways. It's not always like Juicero where you blindly follow a hunch. Sometimes you can start out with a decent idea based on decent market research, but at some point you come across what should be a giant red flag. Maybe you see unexpected shipping costs or massive Amazon fulfillment fees that you didn't anticipate, and it throws off your unit economics. But because you've already invested the time and you become emotionally attached to the idea, you conveniently overlook all of these giant red flags waving directly in your face. To put it simply, you've got sunk cost fallacy. You might have spent months developing a product, dreaming of the brand you're going to build off the back of it, and it just blinds you to the negatives. The reason I know this is because we did it. There were a few products early on that we didn't have strong enough margins on, and we just forced them through anyway, convincing ourselves that we can make it work. Well, guess what? We couldn't. So we had to set everything out, and then we launched objectively better products that hit all of the fundamentals properly. So the key to making good product decisions early on is to stay objective. Before you launch a product on Amazon, you've got to make sure it's something that the market actually wants. Now, there's tools like Helium 10 that can help you check this, and it's something that we teach in depth in the Honest FBA community, which you can learn more about in the description down below. Now look, of course, if you enter a space that you're genuinely passionate about, that's awesome, as long as the economics make sense all the way through. Because even if you're a marketing genius like Robert Oliver with a deep understanding of your customer demo, if you want to make it on Amazon, your best bet is to identify an existing need in the market and then launch a product to satisfy that demand. Now to the second mistake. And you're going to want to keep your ears out for this one. So if you hear an online guru tell you to only look for high demand, low review niches, you should probably change the channel and walk away, because this is new seller up number 2. The logic goes like this. You look for new niches with healthy demand and healthy sales where most of the sellers have really low review counts. That means there aren't really any established products in the category yet, so you think there's still space for you to enter the niche and make a killing with the exact same product. And it kind of makes sense until you look a little bit closer. The problem is that a ton of new sellers are using the exact same filters they've learned about from the exact same set of gurus who all watch each other and repeat the same information. And by the time you source a product, design your branding and your listing, and you get your product to market, there's already dozens of other sellers that have jumped on the same opportunity to sell the exact same thing. This then leads to a ridiculously saturated niche, the average prices tank, and you're left sat on a bunch of units you're unable to sell. We've seen this happen time and time again. And if it's happened to you, please leave a comment down below with your story. Absolutely no judgment. Unfortunately, this is par for the course for a lot of Amazon sellers. So what you should be looking for instead are evergreen markets with stable demand where all of the existing products look the same. You can then come in with something new and improved and take a big chunk of the market share. This makes it way easier to feel confident that by the time you get your new and improved and differentiated product to market, the market you're launching into is going to be the same one that you first saw when you first found the opportunity. Now look, of course, review counts are an important thing to keep an eye on. If you see a niche where the top sellers have hundreds of thousands of great reviews, like Utopia bed sheets, that's probably not a space you want to be getting involved in as a new Amazon seller, unless you've got a shitload of cash behind you. But just because it doesn't make sense to enter a market with hundreds of thousands of positive reviews without a massive budget, doesn't mean that entering niches with low review counts is a strategy you want to bank on. To put it bluntly, review counts are a trap that you shouldn't use as your main criteria when deciding on products to sell. Okay, so moving on to our third big up that we see new Amazon sellers making time and time again. This is one you tend to hear right alongside the second high demand, low review line. And that mistake is to only look for products to sell that are under $30. This is built on the misconception that the higher the cost of the product, the more money you'll need to launch a product. And this sounds good from a guru trying to sell you a course, who doesn't really want to scare you away with big sounding numbers and startup costs. But the logic doesn't hold up at all. Think of it this way. If you've got one product that costs $10 to manufacture and you sell 1,000 of these per month, that'll cost you $10,000 for 1 month's worth of stock. Now, if there's another product that costs $100 to manufacture and you sell 100 of these a month, that'll still cost you $10,000 for 1 month's worth of stock. So you might have two products where the cogs for one are 10 times the cogs for the other, but the production costs and the monthly revenue are exactly the same. But this particular fallacy runs even deeper because the PPC cost per click for a lot of Amazon products is actually pretty similar, whether the product cost is $200 or $30. We've actually regularly seen lower cost products that have higher demand have much higher cost per clicks than expensive products that have lower demand. So selling a more expensive product can actually make your PPC way easier, or at least way more effective. Now, I want to be super clear here. I'm not saying that all products under $30 never make sense. By all means, if you find a product that you think you can sell for $25 and still make a great margin, you talk to your suppliers, you check your Amazon fees, the expected PPC costs, and you run the numbers again, and the economics all make sense, then maybe you are sat on a good idea. We actually sell a couple of products ourselves that are in the $20 to $30 price point, and we make decent money on them, mainly because the COGS are incredibly low, so the unit economics really shake out. My overarching point is you really don't want to limit yourself to some arbitrary number. It's not about finding a $35 or $15 or $75 product. There is no magic price point. It's simply about finding a niche and a product with good economics that fit your budget. Now, once you've got those things nailed, absolutely do not up this next thing like we did. So a couple of years back, we were launching a new product, which at the time was the biggest swing we'd taken with a new launch. We'd done the research, we custom designed a product, and we were very confident in the opportunity. But we didn't test the product for long enough before ordering a ton of units. And we missed a fatal flaw in the manufacturing. Over the first few weeks, we sold a stupid amount of these things. Our bestseller rank was sub 1,000. We had the bestseller badge in our niche, the #1 new release badge. We thought we'd absolutely nailed it. But then the reviews started to come in. I was actually on holiday on a ski lift when the first 1-star review dropped, and let me tell you, it doesn't half ruin your day. Customers who had bought the product and started using it regularly noticed a flaw that we missed, and they ended up leaving us a bunch of very painful 1-star reviews. And that is frequent fuck up number 4, not testing your product samples properly. We've since learned our lesson, and we learned it the hard way. We now test way more rigorously, and even if it delays production and getting to market, is what you got to do. Order samples and give them to friends or family who would actually use the product. So if it's a product for dogs, send it to a friend who has dogs. Ask them what they like, what they don't like, how many stars they would give it. You can even go one step further, and I definitely advise this. Buy your potential competition's products, give both to your friends, don't say whose is who, and see who they prefer. If yours isn't the preferred option and it doesn't get 5 stars, go back and make it better. All right, moving on to up number 5, before I share the product secret we've recently plugged into. So look at these beautiful bits of silicone. These earplugs are bringing in almost $2 million every single month. And you can find really similar ones on Alibaba that you can have made for about 60 cents each. So it can be really tempting to see that and think, damn, if I could grab 1% of that market, that's 20 grand a month. Now, if you've got a $100,000 budget to get started, this might be a niche you can think twice about. But if you enter this with insufficient budget, you'll likely keep stocking out, you're not going to gain the organic ranks that you need, and you'll be fighting an uphill battle from day one. The point is, you need to make sure you've got enough budget for whatever product niche you're entering. So here's a quick rule of thumb to quickly assess if you've got enough budget to enter a niche. Look at the top 10 sellers in a niche and take the median sales amount. So if you list out the top 10 sellers of a product and it looks like this, you can see that the top seller is putting in $105,000 per month. And the 10th seller is doing $9,000 a month. And the sellers right there in the middle are doing around $42,000. So you'd expect to need a minimum of $42,000 to enter the niche and afford up to 3 months of stock. So if you're on a $10,000 budget, for example, this is not a product or a niche that you want to be going for. Again, this is a rule of thumb. There are no hard rules to getting this right. But unfortunately, too many sellers underestimate massively what it takes to launch a product and keep it in stock on Amazon. And remember here, your goal isn't to launch a product and sell it out in 2 weeks. The goal is to launch a product and keep it in stock for the next 2 or 3 years. And to do that, you need enough money to place your first inventory order and your second inventory order. And that's because when your products start flying off the shelf, you won't have earned back all the cash from your first order before it's time to place a deposit on your second order. So here's an example of what I mean. Imagine you're aiming to make $40,000 a month in revenue from a $40 product. You need to sell 1,000 units a month. Now, if it costs, say, $10 per unit to make and ship the product to Amazon, that's $10,000 a month in COGS. Now, you're gonna need enough cash to cover 2 to 3 months of inventory, or $20,000 to $30,000 to keep that machine running. You've got to make sure you've got super strong unit economics and strong cash flow to keep up with the expected demand for the niches that you're entering. This is something that we can't emphasize enough. We talk about it constantly in the Honest FBA community, and we'll keep talking about it here on this channel. Now, as a little bonus for making it this far, I've added a link down below to our Honest FBA budget calculator. You can use this to help you plug in your numbers and see what kind of niches you can afford to enter. And now for the bonus mistake of overlooking or just completely ignoring a specific type of product. This is something that just a couple of years ago, I wasn't even thinking about because honestly, I thought it was out of our league. But now that we're in this space ourselves with our own Amazon business, I realized it's a mistake that a lot of new Amazon sellers are making when they're looking for their first product opportunities. And that is overlooking the consumables and subscription-based product niches. So think about your gym membership or your software subscriptions like Helium 10. You don't pay a one-off fee for access to the gym or to use the software. You pay a recurring monthly fee. And that means the gym or the software company can rely on the same customers coming back and spending money again and again. There are a bunch of opportunities like this on Amazon. Supplements, vitamins, pet food, coffee, energy gels, and a bunch more. If you can win a customer here and get them to try your product, once they fall in love with your brand and what the product does for them, they're going to keep buying from you, sometimes every single month. This leads to higher profit margins, higher predictability, and higher customer LTV. And subscription-based business models with high LTV and high margins are damn sexy. And they can lead to a damn sexy multiple even when you come to sell your brand. Now look, like any other product opportunity, you need to put in the time and the effort and the right research to find the right products and the right customers. But this space is something that new sellers almost completely neglect. So I wanted to share it with you today so you can keep these subscription-based products on your radar. Oh, and by the way, if you do have Helium 10 and you're paying full price, check out the link down below for a pretty sweet discount. And on that last subscription-based product point, if you want to see how Amazon FBA Pro Robert Oliver has tapped into the consumables market to create multiple 8-figure brands, go and watch this.